Welcome to the Empower Series podcast. My name is Clifton Johnson. As always, I want to welcome my viewers in the United States and around the world. We are going to have a great conversation today. I'm so excited about our topic, which is I've entitled it Your Legacy, Your Way, but this is about estate planning. A lot of people think that's not too sexy, but it's very, very important. But before we dive into this, I want to tell you, like I always tell you, don't keep us a secret. There's somebody in your circle that needs to have this conversation. Not only you, but somebody around you. So bless us, or bless them by actually sharing this with somebody now, letting them know what you're about to do. And don't worry about it. If they can't join us now live, they can also join us afterwards, because it's going to be out there forever for you to go back and look at it again. And then also, more importantly, for you to take action on. So here's what we're going to do. I'm going to be a little bit formal here. I'm going to introduce my guest to you, because he is deserving of it. So our guest today is a native of Dallas, Texas, Dallas in the house, and a first-time generation college graduate, attorney L.D. Thomas. He brings a deep, deep commitment and passion and personal understanding to his legal practice with a juris, is that how you
Juris Doctor, yeah.
Juris Doctor from the University of North Texas College of Law, a Master's of Public Administration from the University of Texas at Arlington, a Bachelor's in International Relationships, Business and Economics from the University of North Texas, and over 15 years in real estate and mortgage. Dr. Thomas brings a wealth of knowledge to his clients. His dedication to providing comprehensive legal solutions is evident and makes him a trusted advisor in matters of estate planning, probate, and heirship. As a founder of the law office of L.D. Thomas, PLLC, Dr. Thomas has built a reputation for excellence, earning recognition as the best law firm in Black Dallas in 2020, 2022, 2023. I don't know what happened in 2021. We'll talk about that later. Yeah. But he was selected also to take part in Leadership SBOT, an honor granted to only 20 attorneys throughout the state of Texas. Beyond his legal practice, Dr. Thomas is deeply involved in his community. He is actively engaged with organizations such as the Dallas Black Chamber of Commerce, Dallas Probate Inn of Court, and serves as the board member for the nonprofit arts organization Aurora. He also serves as an adjunct professor at UNT Dallas College of Law and is a licensed realtor and a well sought after public speaker. He just spoke at the Empower Series last weekend. I'm telling you, you in for a treat. So Dr. Thomas, welcome to the Empower Series podcast, my brother.
Thank you for having me. Thank you for having me. I don't get called Dr. Thomas very often, so I do appreciate that. And listening to that, I think I'm gonna have to go up on my fees. I was kind of impressed. I was like, I did all that. So thank you.
I'll tell you right now, what we do at the Empower Series is a couple of things. We definitely want to make sure that people have hope, because we know, man, when we start and we have an idea, we may not have any clue as to how to do it, but I believe God has given us the resources to manifest our ideas and our dreams. So we want to give people hope that they can achieve their goals. We definitely want to inspire them to take action. We'll talk about the action we want them to take as a result of this. We also are going to educate them, which they're going to get a wealth of information today, but more importantly, connecting them to resources. And you are a critical resource, my brother, right? And
I look forward to being a resource.
So I appreciate you taking a portion out of your life and pointing to the community, the Empower Series community. So thank you, my man.
I appreciate that. Thank you for having me. Thank you for putting together and doing the Empower Series. 13 years?
13 years, my brother.
13 years.
Look, and you just found out about it last week. So I'm not doing my job, bro. What's happening? Hey, y'all need, I need your help. We got to get this out there.
Listen, what I saw Saturday, what I am witnessing today, and what the feedback that I got from the people that attended, who have attended in years past, it is a phenomenal program. It is pouring into people. It is changing lives. It's forming financially aware, financially stable, and well-rounded and full human beings, man. And I promise you, whatever energy that you are putting out there, the good energy, it is going to come back to you tenfold.
Man, I receive that. I receive that. And I was just saying earlier that, you probably heard of Club Shay Shay with Shannon Sharp, right? His thing with, what is it, Cat Williams went 20 million?
What's in here?
right. Well, I'm telling you, the Empower Series is just as valuable as that entertainment, right?
Oh, it's more
So
valuable.
I want this video to go viral, bro, because you're gonna drop some serious knowledge. This is about not just estate planning. This is really about organizing your life and really creating a legacy of love.
And your legacy, absolutely.
Yeah.
That's what it's when I send people their documents to review. These are your legacy documents. It's not just estate planning. That seems so dry. This is your legacy. This is a love letter to your family. These documents speak for you when you can't speak for yourself. So the fact that you understand the importance of that and want to get that out to as many people as possible, man, hats off to you, brother.
Well, man, we're gonna have a conversation, right?
Let's talk.
This is gonna be like well, first off, let me let you know that this is about education and information. This is not like a professional relationship, it's not legal advice that we're getting.
No.
This is for educational, informational purposes only. We do encourage you that to go talk to a professional, whether it's a financial advisor, a tax professional, or a legal professional about your specific situation to get advice that is tailored for you. So let's not get this twisted.
Correct.
Right? We're just giving you some information from our experiences and good things for you to know and for you to act on. We will be encouraging, I want to drop the...
Go ahead, that's fine.
So my brother this is the Estate Planning Awareness Month, October.
Yeah.
And my brother here is going to go ahead and provide a free 30-minute virtual consultation to anybody that's able to reach out and schedule time with him, right? In the month of October only.
Of October.
So not just the month of October, so you better act fast because clock's ticking, right?
Absolutely.
And underneath this video are links to his information, his email and his phone number to schedule time, but his time is already getting booked up. I already had
absolutely.
2 calls with me. You said the 30th and 31st is already booked up?
The 30th and 31st are already booked.
Right.
So we're really, what is that, the 29th, up until the 29th.
Right.
And
so first come, first serve.
Yeah.
Right. But the value is there. So if you're not able to get in for this free 30-minute virtual consultation in the month of October, it is worth it afterwards. But just want to put that out there for you guys to know and jump on, right?
Yeah, and let me underscore, where's my camera? The month of October. Do not call me November 5th after the election saying, okay, well now I need to get my stuff together. You've got till October.
Well, let's clarify that. You can call them.
Oh yeah, you can call me.
But don't be asking for the free 30-minute consultation.
Free. Absolutely, please call. But no, we want movement and we want action, and so that sense of urgency, and to honor National Estate Planning Awareness Month. Let's get that done. Let's start the conversation. Let's get people aware.
And we're going to talk about some stuff now. So number one, I'm going to ask some questions, and if you're online with us, you can ask some questions here. I'll be looking down and following the chat. But we're going to talk about understanding estate planning basics. We're going to talk about organizing your life and your affairs before you meet with an attorney. Working with an attorney, how do you pick one? Minimizing your tax strategies or tax implications. End of life planning, and then other considerations. We're going to talk about LD's experiences and how those experiences can really help you now, right? So we're just going to dig in, man. Oh, like I was saying, underneath the video are not only links to his information, but there's some handouts with some content on there. There's a link to 2 documents that I found to be very valuable. The AARP has a lesson book that gives a lot of knowledge about the different estate planning documents, the professionals that you need to work with, build relationships with before you really need them, and then a records book that can help you organize pertinent information, right? And we'll talk more about that, but I wanted to let you know that there's additional links below the video. And just to dive in, man, what is estate planning and why is it very important for everybody, whether they have a lot of money, like Prince, or or someone,
let's talk about
someone like Uncle JoJo who sleeping on my couch.
Everybody, from the youngest to the oldest to the richest to the poorest, everybody needs an estate plan. And what an estate plan is, it is a plan for the unexpected and the inevitable, okay? I tell everybody, listen, everybody is going to die. This is life. Nobody gets out alive. So that's the inevitable, except me. I'm going to be changed in the twinkling of an eye. Everybody else, however, you need to prepare for that day. We just don't know when it's coming, but it's coming. So that's the inevitable, the unexpected, getting sick, being incapacitated in the hospital for a while, even getting stuck overseas or anything like that. Things that you don't plan for prior to death. And I think that's a big misconception about estate planning, is it's just what happens when I die. It's just a will or a trust. And it is not. The basics of a decent estate plan, they do include a will or a trust. They do include that document on what happens to your stuff when you leave us. But it also includes a medical power of attorney. Who's going to make medical decisions for you if you can't? Right. That's important while you're still here. A durable financial power of attorney. Who can make financial decisions for you in the event that you cannot, for whatever reason? If you are incapacitated in the hospital, if you're on a trip and someone needs to handle business for you, who can do that? These are things that are important while you're still on this side of heaven. Other documents that are important, advanced directives. That is, in layman's terms, that's a pull the plug or not pull the plug document. Right. Do you want to remain on life support, or would you like to die gently? I tell people it's to help them make a decision. Would you like to remain on life support until the Cowboys win the Super Bowl? So you'll be here for a minute. Right. You'll be here for a minute. Or die peacefully. And also a HIPAA form, which allows your doctors to discuss your medical information with the people that you put on that form. Okay. I highly recommend that it's whoever's making medical decisions for you. But the reason an estate plan is important for anyone is because we are all navigating through life and we do not know what is around the corner, right? Even if all you have, I hear people say, oh, well, I don't have, it's just me. I'm in my early 20s. I just got my apartment and my dog.
In debt.
And debt, right? Well, if something happens to you, who's gonna feed your dog? Who has access to your apartment, right? Your life, and I don't want to get emotional about this, everybody's life has value. And this helps put value to that and put it on paper and keep your life, for all that it is worth, on track, right? So everybody needs an estate plan.
So I want to bring up two things, man. So as a financial advisor, right, just to piggyback on what you're saying, the importance of this before we get into the document and some of the other details that are important for people to know. As a financial advisor, we're meeting with our clients, and we're always talking about saving money, you know, reaching retirement, achieving that goal, like bling bling, whatever we want to do, right? But
sipping Mai Tais on the beach.
Exactly. You know, that's the goal.
That's the goal. That is the goal.
Motivation.
Yes, sir.
What's my motivation, right? However, we always say that we're fortunate. We get the luxury of talking about that stuff to the extent that we are prepared for the unexpected.
Yeah.
And so we talk about insurance. People don't like insurance, but when we talk about insurance, it's not just life insurance. We say, you know, at some point we know we're not going to wake up, but there's a high probability before we reach 65 that we're not going to be able to wake up and do the things that we normally do to make money.
Correct.
And so we talk about disability insurance, health insurance. And along those lines, to your point, these documents of a medical power of attorney or a financial power of attorney are documents that might come into play like more likely than we anticipate.
Oh, absolutely.
And at any age, right?
Absolutely.
Especially when, like, I mean, I remember when I was in high school, the crazy stuff I did when I was like I wasn't driving, it was somebody else. Right?
Okay.
But it's like the things that could happen in injury and accidents, and then it comes back to not only having these documents, but are things organized to where, and I think about this for myself, if I'm in the hospital for 3 months or so, who's going to keep up with paying my bills?
Exactly.
Who has the authority to talk to my
to your insurance companies, to your banks, to all of the. That's what having a power of attorney does, and allows them to do that. And one thing, so the documents that I mentioned, those are just kind of the basics, right? There are all other types of documents and tools at our disposal, and one of them is an advanced direct designation of guardianship. Okay. So when a lot of people hear guardianship, they think guardianship for minor children, which is important. That's another thing people need to consider, especially if you're a couple and you do have minor children. That's part of an estate plan. But what you can also do is say, hey, if for whatever reason I can no longer care for myself and I need someone to care for me, you can designate who you want that person to be while you have the capacity to think about that. And the reason I brought that up, just listening to your story, we think about, oh, when I'm older, a lot of times when we talk about that document, it's okay if you have dementia and you need someone to care for you. But that could happen to anybody in a car wreck or some type of tragic accident where you can no longer care for yourself. And to have the ability to say, hey, if for whatever reason, God forbid it does happen, this is who I trust to be my guardian. And how powerful is that to take control in probably one of your most vulnerable states, to say, hey, you know, I already took care of that.
You know, and I would also say this though, we may have parents who are getting older.
Yeah.
I know my daughter told me, like I was calculating the tip for a bill, and she was looking at me going, "Dad, it's taking you a little bit longer." You know, like, "But why are you timing me? That's what you paying the tip." And so she's even noticing with me that I'm slowing down, and she's concerned about that. So I say that to say, for any of us who have parents, we're always thinking about helping our parents get those documents in order. But to your point, we got to get our stuff together.
Everyone.
So instead of trying to influence somebody else first, you know, the first person we lead is ourselves,
Absolutely.
right? And so I would say, get our stuff in order and then have the conversation with our loved ones. That's one thing. The other thing I would say is not only do we want to have the ability to pick who can care for us, we want to make sure that we pick the one that we don't want.
Absolutely.
Because they'll be like, oh, he's all right. He's in the corner. He'll be all right.
Absolutely.
It's like, no.
What was that Diary of a Mad Black Woman where she pulled him she jumped him into the tub out of the wheelchair? Absolutely. You make some excellent points, because it is difficult, going back to your analogy about, hey, do it yourself first. When you get on an airplane and they tell you, when the oxygen drops, put your mask on first and then help the other person. The reason that's important, or the reason it's beneficial with estate planning, is because, let's be honest, a lot of people don't like talking about it.
Yeah,
We have this thing, we don't talk about dying, we don't want to think about it. It's a sad thing to talk about. I mean, that's the reality. So when people do come to the realization that it is important, and not only do they need to do it, but their loved ones need to do it, it's a big question about, well, how do I bring this up? How do I have this conversation with my loved ones about this? And to your point, you take the lead. Do it yourself. Lead by example. Put your estate planning mask on first. Invite them to your meetings if you're comfortable with it, so they can see, and it can demystify the whole experience. You know, they can see that the lawyer that you're meeting with is, you know, this handsome black bald-headed man with a great smile, you know, as opposed to some scary, you know, like I'm walking around with a sickle or something, right? Like, I try to be approachable for a reason, because I know this is a conversation that a lot of people are not comfortable with. So I try my best to make them as comfortable as possible. And so bringing them along on your journey can help demystify it for them. So that's one way. Put your mask on first and then help other people. You're absolutely correct with that.
All right, so now here's what we're gonna do, man. This is gonna be some valuable stuff here.
All right.
So now, let's take me through it. Like, what should people expect if they're meeting with you for the first time? Like, man, you know, I watched the Empower series, and so I need to meet with you. A person may have a lot of assets and a lot of land and things that they need to really talk about the difference between a will and trust and everything, but most people are just not knowledgeable. So when they first meet with you, how do you engage with them, and what is that experience like for those people who may not know?
Yeah, so I think the best way to describe this would be, it would be a continuation of the conversation that you and I are having. Whether it's virtual or whether it's in person. I sit down, I need to know about you. I need to know about your family. I need to know about your makeup of your family. Are you married? Are you not married? Do you have children? What are your experiences? So the first part is just a conversation, so that I can know you. I need to know you, and then I need to know, what are your goals? What are your, have you thought about what would happen to your assets when you pass away? What would you like to happen in an ideal world? So it's a continuation, it's a conversation like this. And then we talk about what our options are. We talk about ways to accomplish those goals. We talk about tools that are in our toolbox as estate planning attorneys that can help you reach that, some things that people may not have thought about. And we put together, I know for me, we put together a plan that is tailored to you, okay? It is not a one-size-fits-all scenario. Everyone's family is different. Everyone's life is different. Goals are different. Concerns are different. Assets are different. So I need to know, what are those things that would make this estate plan fit for you? So the first thing is just to have a conversation. And if they're comfortable enough watching you and I talk, then they would be very much comfortable just having the conversation with me. Just tell me what's on your mind.
Okay, so I want to know this then. So if I'm going to schedule a consultation with you before meeting with an attorney, what type of things should I be prepared for? Like any documents I need to gather, or I need to have some goals.
Yeah.
Right? So put some thought to things. Is there a worksheet or anything that you recommend that we do to prepare for a good meeting with an attorney?
I do have an intake form.
Okay.
Okay. Typically, I give the intake form after the initial consultation.
Okay.
And I'm gonna tell you why. Okay. Folks hate homework. They hate homework.
Y'all hate
I don't want to do it. And you give them the intake form, and,
they
you
don't
never
do it.
you never hear from them again.
Right, okay.
So let's have the conversation, and in the initial conversation, I'm already crafting and putting together the plan. So a lot of it's done verbally.
It's not that hard to do.
I don't think it's that hard to talk to me. Yeah, I think it's easy to talk.
You're cool, brother, right?
So we have this conversation, and then, hey, here's the form. Fill in this information that fill in the holes of the plan that you and I have talked through verbally.
Okay.
We circle back. We make sure we confirm that that's what we want to do. So we have it documented in writing as well as the verbal conversations that we have. This is the form, and then we're off and running.
All right. Well, the other thing I want to talk about then, as we're just getting to know each other, the importance of really getting to know someone and feeling comfortable to talk. Because I know another attorney told me that, yeah, you can talk about the, parents, grandparents, children, spouse, ex-spouse, all
of that
stuff, right?
Yeah.
But then you got to know about is there drama going on? Because when someone passes away or when someone gets injured, someone's going to stick their head up and true colors are going to come out. So it's important. It's important to know that, right?
It is.
And so not everybody's not perfect. There's dysfunction in everything, right? Talk about the importance of knowing that.
I think it's important to develop a relationship with your estate planning attorney, whether it's me or whether it's someone else. Those are good reasons, right? Because it is an intimate process. It's an intimate process. You're telling me what you want to happen when you pass away. Who's going to care for your kids? Who's going to care for your spouse?
Your pets.
Your pets. You're going to talk about all these things. We're crafting a document that is going to speak for you when you can no longer speak. And you want to do that, and most people want to do that in a loving way.
Yeah.
Some people want to do it in a vengeful way, right? But it's important that you feel comfortable with the person who's putting that document together for you. And so you do need to open up about family dynamics. What's the relationship between your children? Yeah. One of the things that's very common is, well, I have 2 kids or I have 3 kids, I just want to leave everything to them, okay? Well, let's talk about that, because there are some drawbacks to that. That innately, especially if you're dealing with real estate, creates heirship property, okay? Which means you have multiple people owning a house together, so now they got to pay taxes together. Is that relationship going to sustain that? So you do have to talk about those family dynamics. And in order to do that, you have to be comfortable with the person that you're meeting with, and you're having do that for you.
And you have to know that so that you can recommend the right solution.
Absolutely.
For that.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's a good point, man. And then, so here's the other thing I have a question about. So someone comes in, it's important for you to know about them, know their family dynamics, and then for them to have goals. So you're going to be asking questions that they probably haven't been asked before. So that's also very, very important. So when people are thinking that, regardless, man, I don't need to meet with you, I do need to meet with you, like, people need to take advantage, because one of the benefits of meeting with any financial professional is that you have met with thousands of people. You have seen thousands of situations.
Scenarios, cases, absolutely.
And you're going to ask a question that more than likely that we haven't put any kind of structured thought to. So speak a little bit to that. And then I want you to go through the basic documents, like what's important for people to know about the will, and then the other documents as part of the estate plan.
Well, I will say, I'll answer that question and talk a little bit about myself and my practice a little bit. It's very hard for me to talk about myself. I don't know if you picked up on that.
I did. Yeah. It's hard.
But I will say, so my practice focuses exclusively right now on estate planning, probate, and heirship, because they all kind of tie together. Heirship, we kind of touched on that. When multiple people own properties together, and sometimes generationally, you have hundreds of heirs owning all of these acres and trying to clear that up. But estate planning and probate, those are 2 sides of the same coin. So the estate planning is getting ready for the inevitable of passing away, and then probate is when someone has passed, if they did any estate planning, getting that done and taken care of properly and going through that process. So some of the questions that I have to ask, and the reason I brought this up in that capacity, is because that's what I focus on. Because I don't do criminal. You get arrested, don't call me, okay? Because I've got some great colleagues I can recommend, but that's not what I do. Because this area of practice is so nuanced, because it does turn on a dime, I really want to focus on that. And to your point, it allows me to go deeper and ask those questions and bring out those scenarios that a lot of people don't even know to ask or even think about. Specifically, hey, I just want to leave my house to my kids. There are some attorneys who maybe are not as experienced in this area. So, okay, great, that's no problem, let's do it and shoot it out without asking those questions. So that's the importance of dealing with someone who does it on a regular basis, and those are some of the questions that we ask.
Yeah, so just speaking about my situation, so I got a loft downtown. I'm thinking I have 2 kids. Just leaving it to them 50-50.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I just thought,
you just thought about that, right?
Like I'm thinking, man, that's not going to work because probably one of them is going to want to live in that place.
Yeah.
And then both of them don't really want it, but then one would probably want to live in it, and then they got to split the taxes.
So then how's that fair?
It's crazy.
So, and I'm glad I said fair, because when I get calls from parents, especially that have adult children, their main thing is, because they know this is going to speak for them when they can, is I just want to be fair. I just want to be fair. I want to be fair to both of my kids. I want to be fair to all 3 of my kids. I want to be fair to all 15 of my kids, right? Because they don't want to leave and have a child feel slighted, okay? And so what I do is I have to coach them through that a little bit and explain to them that fair does not always mean equal, okay? If you have 2 children and one is a very successful doctor who has 5 homes and a beach house, and then you have another child who is an educator and, you know, working and doing and having a wonderful fulfilled life, but maybe not as financially well off as your other child, why would you leave both of them that house? Yeah. What is this doctor that already has 5 houses going to do? And so, again, that's an extreme scenario, but having that conversation that fair does not always mean equal. Let's look at your children's situations, and then you can always explain your decision. Like, listen, they probably needed the house more. I left you a little bit more insurance money, or you always loved the boat, so you can have the boat and they can have the house, right? Because at the end of the day, this is what I also tell them, this is your stuff.
Right.
And you get to do with your stuff whatever you want to. But that's the advantage of talking to an attorney and talking through some of those scenarios that people don't think about. Okay. That fair does not always mean equal, because sometimes equal will create a lot of chaos, unintended chaos.
All right, so let's talk about some education first. Now.
Yes.
Now the will is definitely the cornerstone of the estate plan, but we got other documents before you pass away. But let's talk about the will first, because we hear a lot of times and we see commercials that, you know, $199, get your will done no matter what state you in. So give us some education about what a will is and why it's important to, let's say, meet with a attorney as opposed to getting something online.
Online, yeah. So a will is a document that not only tells people when you pass away what happens to your estate, like who gets what, who gets the house, who gets the car, but it also appoints an executor, which is the person to be in charge of your estate. And so you draft this, you sit down, you put all these terms in there to make sure that it will be accepted by a court of law. I have many concerns with people who go to online, letmedomywillmyself.com, okay? It creates a lot more problems than people realize. The law is very complex, and it turns on a phrase. It turns on just the slightest thing. Lawyers make a lot of money fighting over what this one word meant, okay? The average cost of probate litigation, so this is literally just people fighting in the average is $250,000 in the state of Texas.
What?
You heard, $250,000 is the average cost of probate litigation. So All of these, I can do this will myself. You know, that lawyer that went to law school for 3-4 years and took that bar and then takes continuing legal education, I can learn all that in 15 minutes.
Right.
It's not worth it.
Like,
That's
somebody's being sold. The who's making money is the company that's selling those online services.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And then, because that's what I call like a wheel mill. It's a volume play. They just get more people to do that. They're not there when it goes right. You can't call them when you need to make a change. Yeah. You can't call them when your life changes. Several things that I have seen with these, they're not signed correctly. They're missing the proper language in some of the documents, which extends the probate process, which extends the court process. When you simply could have sat down with an attorney in your state, had it properly drafted, make sure all the language was there, ask questions, get an understanding, not instead of guessing and say, okay, well, I think this is what this means. Okay, yeah. You know, it's just the cost does not add up. You're going to pay more, and your family is going to pay more, typically in the long run. One scenario that I can speak of is an example I've given, right? Lady said, okay, my estate, it's simple as can be. I'm single, I got 2 kids, I leave everything to my kids, right?
That's simple, right?
It's simple. And I gave a presentation, and she happened to attend the presentation, and she came up to me, she said, you know, I actually did my will online. I did it online, and would you look over it for me? I said, sure. So I looked over it, and sure enough, that's her. She's got 2 kids. I leave everything to my 2 kids. What happened was you have to have disinterested witnesses sign. You have to have witnesses sign. And she had one of her kids come over and help her, you know. And he signed the will, so on and so forth. Here's the problem with that. You cannot have someone in the will. You can't leave something to someone in the will and then have them serve as a witness. So it did not invalidate the whole will. It invalidated his gift. So she inadvertently disinherited her son, the one that took his evening to come over and help you, right? So that's why it's important. Talk to the money that you think. Luckily, we caught that, right? Because she had enough. She listened to that said, hey, I need to talk to him, just to make sure. And so we were able to catch that. But that happens more than people know. So clicking on these buttons and doing a nameless, faceless thing and printing things out, you are setting yourself up and your family up for a disaster.
Okay, so
in my opinion.
So point number 1, one-on-one will talk to a professional, a legal attorney. But let's talk about that. So a will, what it does, in my understanding, then it helps. It communicates your wishes. It could include your end of life, not end of life, but your funeral services and things of that. It can. I don't recommend that. It doesn't have to, right? Okay. And then, but you said it has the executor, which is the person that's responsible, who's going to be appointed by the court to be responsible to follow the wishes and work with the attorney through probate. It also is going to identify beneficiaries, who's going to get certain things. But do you also, in that executor, the responsibilities would be to do an inventory of all of the personal property. Talk about what that responsibility is of the executor.
So the responsibility of the executor is to settle up the estate and the affairs of the person who's passed away. Okay. So that's paying any debts, that's collecting any debts. So if somebody owes you money, they get to go collect your money, right? So that if somebody owes you a debt that's not wiped away, your family at least gets that. So if you're a contractor and you're in the middle of a job or trying to collect on a job, so they not only settle up all your debts and they collect your money, that's part of the inventory. What was in this person's estate when they passed? Did they have a home? Did they have jewelry? Did they have, what was in their bank account? All of that stuff. So they take care of the business of your estate. And so what is the business of your estate? Again, collecting that inventory of all of your assets, settling up any debts, and then distributing your assets in accordance with your will. Like, they are bound by law to do what you said in that will. Sitting there telling me, well, I told my kids what I wanted.
Right.
They are not bound by law to do what you told them to do. They didn't even clean their room up when they were teenagers. So why do you think they're gonna listen to you when you did, right? So an executor, and having that person with a legal fiduciary duty to respect your wishes in the will and get those assets transferred, and work with an attorney to do that.
That's what I was going to say, because the executor has these responsibilities. They don't know what they're doing.
Correct.
So you will guide your client in helping them pick the person that can do the responsibilities of the executor along with the help of an attorney.
That's
right?
part of that conversation.
Yeah.
Who do you know that's responsible enough to do that? For a lot of people, if you have a spouse, it's a spouse, or you have a best friend or a close cousin, someone who you know that is somewhat financially responsible. Okay. Now, you can leave your executor, especially if they're related to you or something, you can leave them something in the will and also motivate them to go ahead and get it done.
Get it right.
So they can't sign it as a witness, but you can leave your executor something as well. So we do have that conversation because we talk about what their responsibilities are. And so then tell me people in your life that you think are responsible enough to do that.
Okay, and just to also talk about this document, because a will and a trust is always talked about.
It
so
is.
Talk about a trust, what it is, and then who the grantor is, who the trustee is, who the beneficiaries are, and how the will. What did you know about a trust?
I will tell you, trusts are really sexy, right? Everybody's talking about you need a trust. Avoid probate. Probate's horrible. You don't want to go through probate. Get a trust. Get a trust. Trust.
Right.
So first of all, let's talk about the differences, the stark differences between a will and a trust. A will is a document that helps transfer your assets when you pass away, okay? So up until you pass away or lose capacity, you can make adjustments to your will, okay? Because they don't transfer until you die, okay? With a trust is essentially a management agreement. I liken it to a treasure chest or a U-Haul, okay? And I say that because it only controls what you put in it. If you don't transfer those assets or put them in that U-Haul, and that U-Haul goes to Kansas, those assets are sitting right there. So what a trust does, a trust is a management agreement, and you have to transfer those assets before you pass away. So whereas a will transfers assets when you die, while you are still here, you set up the trust and you transfer the assets into the name of the trust. So you literally take them out of your name. For example, Clifton. We say Clifton owns a house. So the deed is in Clifton's name. You set up Empower Trust. We will need to do a deed from Clifton to the trustee of Empower Trust. So you've transferred that into the trust. So now the trust can control. The structure of a trust, there are three main roles in a trust. And I say roles because these three roles can be three different people or they can all be one person.
Okay.
So the first person is the settlor, the person who sets it up. So you come to me and you say, hey, LD, I want a trust. Okay, well, let's set it up. You're the settlor. The second role is the trustee. That's the person that manages the assets. That's the person who's responsible for carrying out whatever terms are in there, paying the taxes or on the assets, managing the trust. The third role is the beneficiary. That's the individual that benefits from the trust. Okay. So you can set the trust up, you can put all these assets in there. If some of them are income producing, you can benefit from the trust. So you can set it up, you can manage it, and you can pay yourself, right? Or you can set it up, you can have someone else manage it, and it be for the benefit of your children. Or you can set it up, you can have one child manage it, and another child be the beneficiary of it. So there are three roles, and different people can fulfill those roles. I said it in the beginning, and I will say it again because it bears repeating, and it's so crucial. A trust only has control over the assets that are put into it. there was a huge wave of people getting trust and going online and ordering these
Printing
trusts.
these documents, right?
Printing these, man. And in my line of work, I've had people come to me, their loved ones have passed away, and they say, well, we don't really know how to do it, but Grandma, Grandpa had a trust. Mm-hmm. Okay, great. Would you look over it for us and see what we need to do? Sure, okay. Well, we look at it, and sure enough, there's a trust, but nothing was transferred into the trust. So everything falls outside of the trust. Mm-hmm. So what do we do with those assets then? They have to go through probate. But Grandma, Grandpa didn't have a will because they said, I have a trust.
Gotcha.
They weren't properly advised. And so if you do use a trust as your primary estate planning document, you need to accompany that with a special type of will that's called a pour-over will. Okay. That says, hey, if I didn't get to move something into the trust, and you have to go through probate, it's my wishes that you pour it over into the trust.
And that's done upon passing?
Correct.
So you don't have to go through probate with that will. The pour-over will does not require probate, or does it?
It does require probate. So
okay.
Any will, if there's a need for administration, would have to go through probate.
Okay.
But what it does is it makes sure that any assets that you didn't get to transfer for whatever reason go into the trust.
Okay, would it take over liabilities as well? Like, because there's a certain point in time where if you passed away, your debtors will be able to make a claim against your estate.
That's correct. So that would be part of the administration, and it's going to depend on whether or not it's a secured debt or unsecured debt. If it's a secured debt, we have to notify them, and that is part of the standard probate administration. So you do have to take care of debts. You just can't get rid of them, act like they're not there. Now, unsecured debts, I kind of touched on this briefly. There's a way to send letters, and if they don't reply in a certain amount of time, kind of bar some of those debts, and you can also negotiate some of them down. One of the scenarios that people don't think about when it's, well, I have a trust, and I know everything that I have, and I've put everything I know that I'm going to have when I die in a trust. I don't know how that's possible. I don't know how, because
you're always accumulating stuff, right?
You're always accumulating. So somebody could leave you something, you could get mad at one bank and change to another bank, all of those sorts of things. We never know everything that we're going to have when we die, because we don't know when we're going to die. Yeah. But even if you say, I just know absolutely everything that's going to be in my name when I die, if your family needs to file a wrongful death lawsuit on your behalf, so you got a trust, something happens at the hospital or somewhere, and your family needs to file a wrongful death lawsuit on your behalf, there are two things. One, you're gone, so it's not really you, it's your estate. So the person that would have the authority to file that lawsuit on your behalf would be the executive of your estate. And if you don't have a will, there's a whole complicated process that we have to do to figure out who your executor is. Okay. Second, if you win the lawsuit, if your family wins the lawsuit on your behalf,
now you got a bunch of money coming in.
And guess where that money is not? It is not in the trust because it wasn't there. And so now you have this huge lump sum of money that you never even thought your family would have to contend with, and you didn't have a will in place because of it's just not worth it. So there are a lot, and this happens because I have some colleagues who work in personal injury. And so there are car crashes all day, every day in the state of Texas, and there are lawsuits subsequent to those car crashes. Okay. And a lot of those are deadly, and a lot of those result in lawsuits. And so you need to have a will so that that process can go forward smoothly.
Okay, so I'm going to talk about having a will, regardless of whether you go through probate or not. That's going to be a follow-up question, but to go deeper on the trust and have people understand what a trust is. So we know what the players are: the settlor, the trustee, the beneficiary.
Correct.
And then it's important to have a conversation about your wishes and what you want so that you can craft a trust that accomplishes those goals.
Absolutely.
But what's the difference between a living or revocable trust and an irrevocable trust?
All right, so it's in the name. So a revocable trust, you can revoke it. You can change it. You can take assets in and out of it. You can change the trustees. You can change the beneficiaries. Your husband, well, no, let's not say your husband. Your kid gets you a really horrible gift or makes you mad. You can take them out. You can do this and that.
Right.
It's revocable. It's more palpable. You can change it. Malleable. You can change it. With the irrevocable trust, typically you can't change it once it's set up. Okay. You can, but it's so expensive. There's justifications you have to go through the court. A lot of times it's not worth it.
Because you got to have the beneficiary got to approve it or something like that, right?
All of that,
It's a lot
and
of
the
work.
court. It's a lot of work. So, and once you put your assets into the irrevocable trust, it separates you from them for the most part.
Separate tax ID number that's
Taxes are
entity,
different,
yeah.
tax requirements are different. With the irrevocable trust, you pretty much still pay everything as if you own it because you still have control over it. One of the things that I tell people when we start talking about that was, oh, I want to put my house in irrevocable trust so that, nobody can come get it or whatever.
Right.
Yeah. Well, in a revocable trust, typically that's fine. Now, because you still have control over it, you still have the tax ID, there's not a tremendous amount of creditor protection, okay? They can still file liens on it, do the whole thing, can typically figure out it's you, okay? Well, people say, well, I want to protect it from anything. So those types of protections that people have heard of typically come in the form of an irrevocable trust. The reason those protections exist is because you separate yourself so strongly from that. You no longer have control and dominion over it. What that also means for a lot of people is if you still owe a mortgage on that, it's as if you sold it, you've separated yourself from it. So the due on sale clause kicks in. So be prepared to pay your house off in one check.
People don't know that. That's why it's important to talk to you, right?
This is part of the education that we do. And so we really then need to sit down and talk about, well, what are your concerns? Why? Well, I don't want my kids to have to pay taxes when I die and that sort of thing. If your estate is exposed to the estate tax, there are other ways that we can do that. But yeah, if you still owe a mortgage on your home, typically you try to put that in an irrevocable trust because again, it's something that can't be changed. You take your name on, the bank has a lien on it. Well, you can do. I'm gonna need my money right now.
Right,
and a lot of people say, well, I'm not prepared to pay them hundreds of thousands. Well, then you probably don't need to do that for that. Irrevocable trust is really good when you're really wanting to set something aside for someone else and really protect it for someone else and be prepared not to really benefit from it now and then.
So sometimes it's used for life insurance, but that's where you really need to talk to professionals.
Right, and so for some of my clients whose estate could possibly be exposed to the estate tax, right? We can set up an irrevocable trust and make the life insurance, make the trust the beneficiary of the life insurance. So what will happen is when they pass, the life insurance will pay to the irrevocable trust. And we make sure that it's enough to cover any possible tax exposure. So that when they pass, life insurance pays to the trust and the trust then pays any taxes that are due so their family doesn't have to worry about that. That is an excellent way to use an irrevocable trust and life insurance for tax preparations if your estate is a taxable one, because not all are. Right now,
I think it's 13 million.
it's right around 13 million. Now that can change and can drop to
Every
5
year,
million, right? So that's why it's important to have that relationship with your estate planning attorney, because as the laws change, they can contact you. And as your estate grows, right, especially if you are dabbling in real estate and all those sorts of things with the price of real estate increasing so much, we have a lot of clients who are on that cusp, and then the next year the valuations could possibly come in. There's just a lot of different moving parts to why and where you need to have an ongoing relationship with your attorney.
Okay, so let's talk about a special needs trust. Is that a irrevocable trust, a special needs trust?
Typically, yes.
Or a spendthrift? Like if
So
you have
a
somebody
special
who's
needs trust and a spendthrift are a little different. A spendthrift trust is typically
Someone who doesn't manage their money well?
yeah, you can call it a spendthrift trust, but it's really a term, right?
Okay.
So it's a section of a trust that we put in there
Gotcha.
for someone who doesn't manage their money. But that could be a reason to have the trust in the first place, and it's just those terms. So a special needs trust is really great for anyone who's receiving governmental assistance, financial-based government assistance. So if you have young children with special needs who are receiving any type of check, if something were to happen to their parent or their guardian or their caregiver, and you give them this huge inheritance, that could knock them off of that. So the way a special needs trust works, and this is why it's important to talk to an attorney, there's certain language that we have to put in there to say, hey, this money that they're getting will be kept here and it will be used to supplement. A supplemental needs trust and a special needs trust are essentially the same thing. So we just call them SNTs, supplemental needs or special needs, because what it says is this is here to supplement the governmental assistance. And without that language, the government could take this money into consideration and they could lose those benefits. So again, if you have anyone in your life that is on a income-based assistance from the government, you need to have a conversation with an estate planning attorney and a trust attorney about a supplemental needs trust for them.
Okay, so what I wanted to get across in the trust conversation is that it's complex.
Oh, absolutely.
You definitely need to sit down with an attorney to make sure it's the right type of trust, you know all of the specifics, and if it does it fit for you, because there's a cost of managing that trust, and there's a certain amount of assets that makes it worthwhile and not make worthwhile. So that's the trust piece. But I want to go back to the will, because it's important for everybody to have a will, like you said. However, not every estate will go through probate.
That is
so
correct.
what's needed when someone passes away, hopefully, and they have a will, is to meet with an attorney and not all of a sudden go to the deceased person's home and start divvying up property and looking for stuff and statements and like. So what should the process be upon the notice of someone passing away?
Yeah. So when you figure out when you're informed that someone has passed away, and you're able to kind of collect yourself, I encourage you to reach out to an attorney as quickly as possible, okay? Because an attorney can help guide you through that process, even of just, hey, what do I do with the body? Who do I call it, a funeral home? Reach out to an attorney as soon as possible, especially if you have any confusion. Then when it comes to the estate and the person's assets, they can guide you through that. Yes, hopefully your person did have a will, and the will is going to dictate who gets what. So don't go over there and just start taking stuff out to people's house.
Yeah.
Where's the
But that's what people
Don't
do.
go over there and just start taking stuff out these folks' house.
Right,
Don't do that. Because you can create more problems, because once the will does go through probate, if it's necessary, and we'll talk about whether or not it's necessary, then this person has a claim, then the executor has to go and try to recoup it, and it's just a mess, right? So that's if they have a will, and hopefully they do. You mentioned whether or not the will has to go through probate. So if there's a will and there are probatable assets, then yes, we do need to go through probate. And so what are probatable assets? When a person passes away, their assets are divided into two categories. You have probate assets and non-probate assets. Non-probate assets are essentially anything that has a beneficiary listed on it. So insurance typically is not a probate asset. It becomes a probate asset if you don't update your beneficiary.
Or you identify the estate as the beneficiary.
Correct.
Right?
Yeah.
And who does that?
Right, don't do that. But typically, it is a non-probate asset. So anything with a beneficiary, if you do a pay on death on your accounts, you can literally go to the bank and say, hey, when I die, I want my money to go to this person, okay? Those are non-probate assets. Bank accounts that don't have PODs. When you tell a banking institution that someone has passed away, that bank it's locked down. It's locked down. Real estate is typically a probate asset because we have to change the deed and that sort of thing. So those are two of the main things that push people to go through probate: houses and bank accounts, money and land.
And a car sometimes or probably.
And sometimes a car.
Anything that has a title on it.
Anything that has a title. But there are ways to get
Around that.
there are ways to change those probate assets to non-probate assets. And if we have time, we'll talk about that. But you need to, when a person passes away, you need to stop and take stock, okay? They had a will. Step one, let's look at their estate. Is there anything in this estate that is a probate asset? If they didn't have a house, they theoretically didn't have any bank accounts, all they had, just debt, they just owed everybody, they didn't have any cash. Matter of fact, they owed you $50, okay?
Right.
Then the question is there a need for administration? Because when you go through the probate process, even the judge is going to ask, that's one of the questions we ask, is there a need for administration? If there's not a need for administration, if there's no benefit for probating it, then you don't have to probate it. But you don't know that, and you don't know what the law considers a need until you talk to an attorney. So have that conversation. Now you say, well, if he didn't have $50 and he owed everybody and all this, that, and the third, he shouldn't have had a will in the first place. It's not the case. Because what if the reason he passed away is because he was in a car accident? Now he's going to get paid, his estate's going to get $300,000 or $500,000. Right. Now you're going to want that will because it's going to dictate who gets it. So the will is there for what we know today and what we don't know could be tomorrow. But at the time of death, we would look and examine to see, does it even make sense for us to go through the probate process with this will?
And what will help the family determine that is to the extent that the deceased person's assets and information is organized.
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
hence I want to talk about the record book. So the record book here is, do you assist your clients in organizing
I do.
more documents than just the estate planning documents, like their life insurance policies, their statement accounts, and then also, since everything is digital now, like a digital record book of their usernames, their passwords, so that they can get into the different type of digital assets they may have.
So I will tell you how things work with me and my firm and how we operate. One of the benefits of working with an attorney, specifically me, because not all attorneys do this, we have a will signing ceremony. Believe it or not, there are some attorneys who will draft all these documents for you, send them to you with a worksheet and say, hey, go sign them like this and be good to go, okay? We don't do that at my firm. There's a signing ceremony, we walk you through it, and we explain every document to you. At the end of that, we then recap, make sure you don't have any other questions, or if you need to make any really last minute changes at that time. But then we have a conversation about safekeeping of documents. We have a conversation about letting people know where these documents are. Your will and what I call your living and breathing documents, your powers of attorneys, those have different requirements in my estimation on safekeeping. So we talk about safekeeping for the will, and then we talk about these documents. We also scan all the documents so that we keep an electronic signed copy for you in your file with us. So we have that. We don't keep the originals, but we talk to you about that. As far as your powers of attorney, we also have a document that we provide to you that you can provide to them to say, hey, you're a power of attorney, this is how that operates, this is how you sign your name, this is what you're allowed to do, this is what you're not allowed to do, and this is how you decline. So, and you read this in my bio, I was in education for a long time. I was a teacher in DISD, I was a corporate trainer for a good portion of my career. So educating people is really big for me. It's really big for me. And so I want to make sure that all of my clients walk out with all of that knowledge on not only what the documents are, what they do, but how to really utilize them. Yeah. And so that is part of what we do. But I will tell you, not every attorney does that. But that's an excellent question to ask as you're searching for an attorney. Like, hey, you gonna tell me, you give me these documents, you gonna tell me what to do with them?
Right, and then educate the executor and other people who are
absolutely
as to what to do, right?
Absolutely.
Man, let me tell you something. Time goes fast. So we just like glazed over the each topic. We didn't go deep. We didn't have time to go deep. But I would say that the thing that people should do is stay connected with you.
Yeah.
So if people want to stay connected with you, get in touch with you, what's the best way of getting in touch with you?
So, one, follow us on all of our socials. On Facebook, the Law Office of LD Thomas. On Instagram, ldthomaslaw.com. And I think my email, believe it or not, especially if you want to set up the free 30-minute consultation, you can email me at ld@ldthomaslaw.com.
Okay.
Also on LinkedIn, LD Thomas. I'm here as a resource, and I appreciate you for doing this, and not just personally, but if you found value in this and you say, hey, people at my church need to hear about this, or people in my real estate group, or people in my neighborhood homeowners association need that, reach out to me. I don't know if you know, but I don't have a problem talking.
Yes.
So I am here not only as an attorney, but as a resource to the community. That's what I do. I'm not hard selling anybody. This is the information. This is why you need it. And so, yeah, please be in contact with me. You can reach out to me through any of those vehicles, and love to chat with you personally or in a group.
Yeah, and like I said before, the resources are in the description section. I wasn't able to really pay a lot of attention to the live chatting, but I'll look at that. If you have any questions, put them in the live chat or put them in the comment section, and we'll get back with you.
Oh, I would love to do that. We'll do some frequently asked questions.
Definitely, this information is in the description section, and reading the lesson book and beginning to fill out the record book are two other actions that are very, very important to take, in addition to signing up for the 30-minute consultation. So you got to move fast on that, because you only have
about a week.
Days. You got like a week.
Yeah.
And first come, first serve. But I would always tell you to stay connected with us. Yeah. Definitely stay connected with us. I want to thank you.
Thank you.
You know, thank you is not enough to express my appreciation for you taking a portion out of your life.
That's all right. I'll send you a bill. No, just
right. And pointing to the Empower series. I want to thank you for joining us today. My intent, again, is to make sure that we gave you hope that whatever mess if you want to avoid the mess, right? The hotmess.com that people go through when people pass away.
That's a legal term.
Yeah, exactly.
That's the legal term, hotmess.com.
Or if you want to just get your life in order, right? Just get stuff together to where if someone has to step into your place and take care of your bills for a period of time because you're not able to, incapacitation or whatever the reason, that your life is in order and it's not a mess for your loved ones and your family to go through, then we have resources for you. Contact the Empower Series at thrive@empowerseries.com. We want to continue to inspire you to take action. We educate you and then connect you to those resources. And there's really 4 things I would like you to do. If we can wave a magic wand, like I told you before, what is it? Shannon Sharp's Club Shay Shay, going viral. I think this should go viral too. The Empower Series should go viral with 1 million members and followers and views. So here's what you can do. Get what you're supposed to get from the Empower Series. So if you're watching this today, there's a reason why you're here. There's no accidents. Everybody knew about this, but you're here. You're seeing this, no accidents. Get what you're supposed to get. Share this with somebody else, because don't keep this a secret. When you learn something, teach it. And when you receive something, share it. So definitely share it and let us know. Go to our website at www.empowerseries.com and let us know how we have impacted and transformed your life. There's a survey that you can click on. You can find out about our next programs coming up on the 3rd Saturday of every month. And then if you want to give, there's a donate button. You can always donate. This stuff takes resources, right? So we are giving you information that at no cost to you, but it's definitely a cost to put this on. So I want to thank our sponsors like Comerica Bank. I want to thank AE Media Group for making us look good, and all of you who've donated and separated yourself between your money to support the Empower Series. We wouldn't be able to do this if it wasn't for you, because nothing of significance can ever be done alone. I need your help. So definitely get what you're supposed to get from the Empower Series, share it with other people, let us know how it's impacted you, and then share your time, talent, or resources with us so we can continue to do this work. In the meantime, I want you to be empowered and inspired to thrive. Don't keep this a secret. And again, thank you. Look, you don't make your dreams come true, other people do. So I want to thank you for making my dream come true. and the Empower series is it.